that we're about to go into All-Star baseball, right? And we have about, I think, going into 4 games right before the All-Star break, right? So we do have a lot of like leaders on the board as far as teams is concerned. So I am just wondering, do you guys think those first place teams, and we could talk about who the first place teams are if you'd like, but do you think they're going to stay at that first place team, or are they just going to maybe move to second? How do you feel placement's going to be? Want to
So,
talk a little bit about who our first place teams are?
yeah, I'll go ahead and list those out. So, as of right now, we've got the Toronto Blue in the American League. We got the Toronto Blue Jays with a 3-game lead. We've
Nice.
got the Detroit Tigers with a 13.5-game lead,
Wow.
and the Major League Baseball's best record. We've got the Houston Astros at 6.5 games over the Mariners. In the National League, we've got your Philadelphia Phillies a half game over the New York Mets. The Cubbies with a 2-game lead over the Brewers, and we got Los Dodgers 5 games over the Giants as of right now. Um,
Okay.
so what do you guys think? Do you guys, I like that question actually. Do you think a second half team can surge, or do you think these are going to pretty much stick around?
I think it all depends on who plays who, because it's always a matter of a competition
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
and how you play. Because like every time it can always change. It's just like football, just like everything else. You have one like few good games, and then it's back up to like 57-43 or 54-37 right now with the Cubs. They could end up having and get to 60. So like, you really never know. I mean, the Cubs have always been bad, but you never know. Things could change.
Yeah, I mean, the Phillies are hot to me still, so I don't see them moving too much as far as placement's concerned. They've just kind of been, despite what we're going to talk about, the walk off. But yeah, I think the Phillies are doing a great job. I think they're a pretty good caliber team still um, before the All Star break.
Yeah, see, for me, the one that I think that can change the most is that American League East because you've got the Blue Jays with a 3-game lead. Um, Yankees are right there in second. Tampa Bay is 4 games back, and Red Sox are 6 games back. So you've got 4 teams that are all above 500 within in one week. You
Yeah,
know, if Toronto, I mean, we can use Mike's Dodgers. Who's currently sitting in first? They've lost 6 games in a row. Well, guess what? If Toronto goes on a 6-game losing streak, and along with some other teams, I mean, you can see Boston moving up into first place. I mean, so
yeah. I was
I
going to
think
say there
that
wasn't
one,
that much of a gap right there with,
yeah,
especially with that league.
yeah, so to me, that one is definitely you're gonna see a second half surge, and I think it's actually gonna be probably, um, I think the Yankees are gonna do something, and I do think the Rays are gonna do something. Toronto is gonna fall off. Toronto, I mean, that they're just gonna be the second half Toronto Blue Jays. They are going to just bye. You know, they're forgetting what it was like to win. Um, We've got the mogul saying the Dodgers, yes, they will stay in first place. Um, and he's also being delusional, thinking that Detroit, who has the best record in baseball, is going to drop out. I'm sorry, man. 13 and a half games at the All Star break.
Yeah, that's a
Right.
lead.
Just like, dude, you can take 2 weeks off, and you know, on the run differential, you got 108 runs. They've scored 108 more runs than their opponents. There's only one team that is actually higher than them, and it's actually the Chicago Cubs at 119. So the Cubbies are putting up some runs, and they're not doing. The Dodgers with their 6-game losing streak because they can't hit water if they fell out of a boat. Um, they're squeaking by, but it's just because the Giants and the Padres both are managing to sit there and suck at the exact same time.
Right.
Yeah,
And
but only
that,
being 5 games away, it still could come up.
yeah, but when you look at it, the Giants have gained 2 games in the
Hmm.
last week, the last 10 days. But when you're looking at, like I was saying, Toronto, they're in first base, 3 games ahead. They're 9-1 in the last 10 games. The the Yankees and the Rays are 3-7.
Yeah.
So that's where. But you see Boston, they're at 8-2. I mean, they've even dropped a game back from Toronto, but they're still 8-2 in the last 10. So I do agree with what you said, Dupree. You can sit there and see things on what they got going on. We know once it gets towards the end of the season, if they are not in playoff contention, you will see a lot of September call-ups that are getting more playing time. I do think Philadelphia is going to continue to run that division.
Right.
But that second half surge, I really do have a feeling of the Braves. They showed this a couple years ago when they won the World Series in 2021. They were actually right around the same exact record, and all of a sudden they went like, hold on, we got to do something. The injury bug has killed them drastically. They have 4 original starters on the disabled list right now.
Wow.
So when you got stuff like that happening, I mean, offense has to pick it up.
Yeah, I think the Phillies always hit like a slump too, usually in the second half, which as a fan can be irritating at times, right? Because it's just like you start off so hot and then we either get so far in, even in the second half of the season, or into the playoffs, and it's just like, where did our team go? Where did they dismantle? But yeah, I agree with your statement on that for sure.
Yeah. Seattle, I don't see them. They're just going to stay right there. So Houston, I think, will take that American League West. I think the Cubs are going to end up. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I hope the Cubs lose. I'd rather see the Cardinals win that division. But I hope the Dodgers freaking lose. I hope the Giants come back and win it, and I can't stand them either. So.
What the West is, it really looks like it could be anybody's game because they're only like a few games apart, 49, 51, 56. You only need just one spurt in one team, and it's there.
Yeah, that's what I said. The space is so narrow. It's a close gap for sure.
Yeah. So I think second half baseball is going to be fun. I love it. And I get to watch every single game that I want to watch. So I can't complain about that.